Hello, friends. So today, Ash and I are doing another collab. Say hi.
Hi.
We both talk about trans things a lot because, hey, we're trans. But
really? I didn't know.
I mean, it's news for some people. But we usually talk about either like serious things or like certain funny things. But there's certain types of stories that you can tell only if you're trans that are funny. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm excited to hear yours, basically. Like, really excited.
I have some real weird ones.
Mine goes right into some medical weirdness.
Okay.
If
you
are
can start
prepared
off then.
for that. I have a lot of digestive issues, right? So you have to get routine checks, and I wanted to get a more proper diagnosis, basically. So in order to do that, I had to have another colonoscopy. And if you don't know what that is, basically, they stick a camera up your butt, so they see everything, right?
Fun times.
Yeah. So fun. So my doctor knew that I was trans, but when you get a colonoscopy, a team of people does it. There's like a bunch of nurses and like someone recording information and the doctor and an anesthesiologist and sometimes like another person or two in there. So there's a ton of people in there, and not everyone knew except for my doctor, and we asked him to just like be normal. Like my mom was like, just please be professional about everything, like telling him not to because you never know, doctors would talk about you while you're under, because I've heard of that stuff happening, like when people wake up and hear that too.
That would be so horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. So basically my mom asked him not to do that, and he's like, no, it's gonna stay professional and all this stuff. My doctor's fine. But, so, I don't handle colonoscopies very well because of already my digestive stuff. It makes me really sick. So they admitted me into the hospital so that I didn't get as sick, basically. But because of that, I was super anxious going in, and they have you lay down and do all this stuff to prep you before. And he was doing an endoscopy and a colonoscopy, so I was going both directions. So you have to put this thing in your mouth, and right before they put it in is the most nerve-wracking, because there's something all the way in your mouth, guarding your teeth basically, so they don't hit it with the camera. And the anesthesiologist comes in and he's all friendly and talking to me, and he's like, oh, how are you? Oh, I like your name, because I changed my name legally, and that's where I was like, oh god, I'm not prepared for anything he's gonna say next. Because then he just starts talking about my name, and he's like, oh, so how was that when you were growing up? Did kids say a bunch of weird things about your name? And I was like, boy, I do not have time to explain this to you. You're about to knock me out in 5 seconds. And I was watching my heart rate on the monitor just raise.
Rising.
Because it was adding to my stress level. And then I just basically avoided the question, and maybe 30 seconds later I was out. So there's that story. It's simple but really weird, because then they looked at my insides.
Fun.
The end.
Okay, you started with a real weird one. I can go with a real weird one. Okay.
I mean, this is how we are. We gotta share the good stuff, I guess.
Yeah, you gotta hook 'em. But when I first started packing, if you guys don't know what packing is, it's for a lot of trans men use it so that they can use a urinal, or so that they have the bulge effect. It helps with dysphoria for some guys. I mainly just use it for urinals. So it's like a fake dick almost, just so that if you're in a urinal, no one asks any questions, and you can just pee in peace. That's really it.
Yes.
It was one of the first times I had done that in public. I think I was out to the movies with a friend or something, and I went into the men's restroom, and no one was in there. And then a guy walks in, and he's and on the urinal next to me, and this will happen to you sometime in your packing lifetime if you plan to pack or are currently packing, where you will drop your packer. Usually it's when you're done and you're trying to put it back in, but I did it when I was done and I was gonna put it back in, but my hand slipped and I dropped it. And the guy like heard the thud. So he looked, and okay, first of all, this guy walks in and he is clearly under the influence of something.
Oh no.
You can kind of tell when he walks in that he's a little bit out of it. And he hears the thud, so naturally, like, he looks over. He looks at my packer, like at the bottom of the urinal, then looks at me, and I swear to God, he just looks at me and goes, "Your dick." He thought that it just fell off.
Oh my God.
He looked traumatized, and I'm like this like poor terrified trans boy that already was worried about going into the public men's room, and I just grab the packer and run, and this guy just looks like he cannot compute, like he is traumatized.
Because they do look realistic.
Yeah, and he was clearly like high or something.
Like his worst nightmare just happens next to him.
Yeah, it was so horrible.
Oh my God. That's kind of hilarious. But wait, when you ran out with it, did you just like have it in your hand when you went outside?
I didn't know what to do.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm very sorry. That sounds terrible.
I just shared that with the internet. God help me.
Oh my God, that's amazing though. That's funny.
Yeah, I want to do a
That is
video
a good
about
one.
packing stories because that's a bad one, but I have like more.
You should. See, these are things that only trans people have issues with.
Yep. Alright, your turn.
Oh my God. Okay, this one isn't like as bad, but I think it's still funny and it's really short and simple. It's another, kind of medical thing. I do like some type, it's like
You have so
sort
many
of like
medical
physical
problems.
Well, they're kind of medical problems, but they're not. I have a lot of problems medically, which just leads to medical problems.
Okay.
If that makes sense. But anyway, so one of the people I go to does like a certain type of physical therapy, but it's like lesser known. So basically, like she was working on me, and like we're in our therapy session. I hadn't come out to her before because there was just never a right time. And sometimes I just like to scope out how people act because you don't necessarily need to tell certain medical professionals, but it just got to the point where it was kind of important because we were talking about like hormonal adjustments, because at the time I was having like issues, like my skin was breaking out a ton from that, and so we were talking about that, and then she was like she's a really smart person, she's really sweet, and I was like, okay, I should just tell her. But she was like in the middle of working on me, and I was like, there's no better segue than what she just said, because she's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, she didn't understand why I was having hormone adjustments, and I was like, well, I'm kind of like going through a second puberty in a way, because, and so like I came out to her, and like she was really sweet about it. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of hilarious. Like after the appointment, I started cracking up because like she just did not expect that. That was like the last thing she expected me to say. And she was just like working on me above my head, and I was laying down, and she just like froze and was just like frozen for a really long time, computing what I said before being like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, that wasn't bad, but it was just hilarious at the same time because I just pretty much blew her mind, and I got to watch the reaction.
Fun.
I felt pretty bad, but she was just kind of frozen in the space and time continuum.
My next one happened relatively recently. Most of you guys know I used to live on the West Coast. Then I moved to the Midwest, and then I moved back. And so I've kind of like reconnected with a lot of people who I knew in like middle school and stuff. And I used to hang out with this girl like in elementary school, and just so her parents know me, just because we were like friends as kids. And then I moved back, and I start hitting it off with her sister, and just like we become friends. And I go to their house one time, and like I talk with the mom and like just polite chit chat. And like apparently a couple days later, the mom was like, you know, that's interesting. I've only met one other person that does roller derby. Cause, what she meant is that she was talking about how Olivia's friend, like from middle school and from like 5th grade, did like roller derby. And then she's like, huh, and then this new kid who is a boy also did roller derby. And then the mom goes, and they looked kind of similar too.
Oh my god.
And both of them are like, Mom, it's the same guy.
Oh my god.
Because I just look completely different now, apparently. I've never had that happen until now, and I've had it happen like 2 times in 1 week.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Yeah.
That happens to my parents a lot more than me, where they're just like, oh, didn't you have a daughter? They're like, no.
Yep.
And then they just, because there's some people that like, you could explain to them, but if you're just passing each other in the grocery store, there's just not time. And like, if you don't know them that well, it doesn't matter.
I just found it funny because like, she didn't even realize we were the same person.
No, I totally get it, because then they just like kind of, it's the same thing that happened to my physical therapist. They just sit there for a second thinking. They're like, wait a minute. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed our like simultaneously awkward and funny relatable stories.
I gave up too much information about embarrassing moments in my life.
I mean, it's okay. It's gonna happen anyways at some point.
Yeah.
If you just tell people everything, there's nothing to be embarrassed about anymore. Yeah, thank you for watching. Let us know if you've had any similar stories happen in the comments down below. And check out the really interesting quote-unquote collab that Ash and I are doing. It's very brief but amazing. So here's his channel. Make sure to go watch the video. And we'll see you next time.